Hi, welcome back. In last lecture, we talked about the various types of 3D printer. In this lecture, we will talk about what is a FDM 3D printer. That is a FDM, it means fused deposition modeling. This is the most common types of 3D printer which is available on market, and out of 100 companies which are using 3D printing, 80 companies are using FDM type of 3D printers. So we can understand about the market of FDM 3D printers. So in this lecture, we will talk about details in how FD 3D printer works, what are the different components which use 3D printer, and what about the mechanism of FDM 3D printer. So let's start about a working or anatomy of a 3D printer, like how FDM 3D printer works. So here in this diagram you can see this is the filament. This is the filament. Filament, it means raw material. It is in the form of wire. This filament will go to the extruder, or we also called it filament driver. Extruder is assembly which pull the filament and push it into the nozzle. So here are two gears rotating in opposite sides, and when the wire comes in between two gears, it pushes into the heated nozzle. So this is heated nozzle. So filament will come to the heated nozzle, and in heated nozzle the temperature will be high. It means if I am using PLA material, then temperature will be 210 degree or 220 degree, and this particular temperature your wire will be deformed and melted, and it will be in semi-solid format. And this semi-solid form wire will lay down a layer according to your G codes. The G codes are those which you have put into your 3D printer, which you created by your Cura software in earlier module. So whatever the G codes you have created Cura software, all will be applied here, and based on your G codes, this heated nozzle will lay down a layer upon layer upon layer. As you can see here, this model of elephant is created by these successive layers of fused deposition modeling. So how does it actually work? So a filament will come into the extruder and then go to the nozzle, and in nozzle it will be melted, and then it will create layer by layer. So what will be the motion of your bed? Like print bed, this is a build platform. In some types of FDP 3D printer, Z-axis also moves. Here Z-axis is move once one layer success down, your platform will be gone down by one layer. And in some cases extruder will move in all three directions, X, Y, Z. So this is how 3D printer. Let's understand in details like what is the movement of 3D printer. So here you can see these are the stepper motors and lead screw are there. So all the motions of 3D printer, or all the movement of 3D printer, the movement will be given by stepper motors and lead screws. So if you talk about how many stepper motors are present in 3D printer, then we can say 4 stepper motors are present here. One for X movement, one for Y axis movement, one for Z axis movement, and one for extruder movement. So 4 stepper motors are there, and lead screw are those in which your bed will be moved. Like here in this you can see in this diagram also that this on this lead screw your bed will be moved, and other rotations movement will be based on your stepper motor. So stepper motor will rotate, then lead screw will rotate, and the assembly which are assembled with lead screw will also rotate. So this is how your movements of 3D printer works. So in beginning of the lecture I told you about extruder, that filament will come to the extruder, then go to the nozzle. So extruder is the main part of any 3D printer, and your 3D printing working will fully depend on how extruder works. So let's talk about extruder. So if I divide extruder in two parts, then I can say there are two ends in extruder. One is hot end and one is cool end. The upper portion of the extruder is called coolant, and the bottom portion is known as hot end. So let's talk about coolant, how coolant works. So in coolant there are three important components are there. First is stepper motor, second is hopped gear, then ideal gear. So when stepper motor will move, hopped gear will also move, and ideal gear will also move, and in between we insert our filament. So if those gears will be moved, then our filament also be moved, and this filament will go to the downside by the movement of these gears and stepper motor. Once it go to downside, it goes to the hot end. So what is the construction of hot end, and what are the different components are present in hot end? So here you can see that heat sink is there, then heat sink cooling fan, then heat breaker, then nozzle, heater block, heater cartridge, thermistor. These are the components are present in hot end. So basically, what is the difference between hot end and cold end, and why we need to have two ends in a single extruder. So let's talk about this difference between hot end and cold end. As we know that when your filament goes to the nozzle, because of the heat, because of the high temperature at nozzle, your filament will be deformed and melted down. As the temperature of nozzle is too high, then it is possible to this temperature will go upside at the cool end, and before entering to the nozzle, the filament can get deformed. And if this happens, that at the cool end, if your filament will be deformed and melted, then your nozzle will be choked and no movement of filament is there. So what we want to make sure that once your filament goes inside the nozzle, then only it should be melted. So for that we need to have a cooling upside at the nozzle, because at the upside of nozzle, because of the nozzle temperature, the temperature will be transferred to the upper side, and it may be possible that because due to the regular deform there, and your nozzle will be choked. So what we want, so we divided it to two types, hot end and cool end. So we do some arrangement to transfer this heat upside at the extruder. So the transferring the heat at hot end only, we need some component. So we use heat sink. Heat sink is the sink which has the surface area of heat sink is too high, and it is made by aluminum, so it transfer the heat rapidly. Then we have a heat sink cooling fan. So cooling fan will transmit generated heat in nozzle into the surrounding very fastly, and it will not go to the coolant. Then heat breaker. At one end of the heat breaker, we assemble nozzle, and one end it is a heat sink. So once your temperature will be transferred through nozzle to heat break, all your heat will be transferred by heat sink in the outside atmosphere along with your heat cooling fan. Then heater block. Heater block is assembly where our heater will be take place. So heater cartridge, this is the heater, and this heater will insert it into the heater block along with the thermistor. Thermistor is what that it maintain the temperature. If we want that for PLA our temperature should be 220 degrees C, then this thermistor will maintain our temperature. So once temperature will be go, once we start our 3D printer, temperature will go like 30, 40, 50, 70, 120, 120. It will be increased rapidly, but at 220 degree it will be stayed because of the thermistor. So these are the components which has been using in hot end to maintain the temperature, to maintain the working of 3D printer. So I hope you got fair idea about what is hot end and what is cool end. Now coming to the hot bed plate. Hot bed plate, it is a bed where your model will take place. So if you are using PLA, then there is no need to heat your bed. But if you are using nylon, ABS, PETG, then these types of material you need some hot bed, because hot bed it means you will give some temperature to your bed. So once layer will come down to your bed, it will get settled and stick to the bed. Sometimes what happen, if your bed is not hot, then sometimes your layer will not stick to the bed and your whole model will be not like you wanted. So for some materials we need hot bed, and for hot bed we have a gun heater here, and we give temperature around 50 to 60 degree temperature is needed at hot bed. So I hope you got idea about what is the use of hot bed. Now there are some few parts are there like frame. Frame is the metallic assembly which assemble our 3D printer. Then pin spooler, as you know, this pin spooler have a filament, and this filament will go to the your extruder, and there are end stoppers. Stoppers are there. So suppose your bed size is 40 mm, and if your extruder is going towards the extraction 40, then at 40 there will be a stopper. So when your bed will hit to the stopper, it will stop and reverse its direction. So these are the use of stoppers. Stoppers are here for X direction, Y direction and Z direction also. So I hope you got the understanding about FDM 3D printer. Now what are the different advantages of FDM type of 3D printer? So first is budget friendly. It is very budget friendly. In market it ranges started from 15,000 to 20 lakh. Depends on what type of 3D printer you require, what type of configuration you need. In FDM 3D printer you need multi extruder, one extruder, or what is the bed size, industrial 3D printer, or for prototyping. So it all depends, but this is very budget friendly. And if you are a beginner and you want to purchase a 3D printer, you can purchase 3D printer on 15,000 also. Then filament reusable, whatever the filament, like we are using polymers, so those polymers are reusable after making prototype. If you want to reuse it, then again you can change it to filament and you can reuse it. Then cloud server print, you can do your printing by cloud server also. I am sitting here, but if my 3D printer is at any remote place, then I can, by using cloud, I can send my model and it can be generated. Then less complex, as you have seen, the working of 3D printer is very simple and the working is simple, so it is less complex. Easy ergonomic layer, for ergonomically if you see, then it is very stable. Then variety of material choices, there are lots of varieties of material you can use in FDM 3D printer, like PLA, PETG, nylon, ABS. I told you about all the materials. Then easily portable bed, the bed is very portable, you can again change it, you can change it anytime. Then compact design, the design is very compact. So these are the few advantages of FDM 3D printers. For everything there is advantages and some disadvantages also. So let's talk about disadvantages of FDM 3D printer. So the first is rough surface finishing. The finishing is rough as comparative to other 3D printing processes. However, it is finished, but if you are comparing with other metallic 3D printer process, then here is the rough surface finishing. Then warping is common, then because we are using polymers, so polymers after cooling, it may be possible that your layer will warpage, so warpage is very common. Then nozzle clogging is also very common. Nozzle clogging is the area where you need to focus on, because I have been using 3D printer from last 5 years, and what I have seen, what I have observed, that there is a tremendous amount of problem in nozzle clogging. As when you complete your 3D printing and if your product has been completed and you just switched off your 3D printer, then what happened, the material, the filament which is inside the nozzle, it got solidified, and once again you will start, then you have to clean your nozzle first and start your 3D printing again. So make sure that after completion of your product completion, you should remove the filament from the nozzle, so next time you will not face the type of nozzle clogging. Then longer printing time, the printing time is longer, as you saw in Cura software also. When we slice something, it gives the timing, so it was around 4 hours, 6 hours, so it depends on the accuracy and all the things, but the timing is longer. Then adhesion problem, sometimes, as I told you, the first layer will not stick to your bed and your model will be not like you wanted, so adhesion problem is also there. Then weak in strength, because we are using polymers, so these are weak in strength. So these are some disadvantages. I hope you got the fair idea about how FDM 3D printer work, what are the components are there, what are the advantages are there, what are the disadvantages are there. So thank you. If you want to learn 3D printing from design to finished product, you can join the full course. This course consists 50 plus video lectures, and the course is divided in so many modules. You can check the detailed information in description box. In this course, along with video lectures, you will get quizzes, assignments and notes. After the completion of the course, you will get authorized certificate which can be useful for your academic or job interviews. So click to the link present in description box and start your 3D printing journey now.